Let me give you guys a story. A soldier seeks vengeance after learning that his wife had slept with dozens of men. Guys, this is yet another story about a young soldier who marries his girlfriend because she has health issues and other such issues. And as a result of his marrying her, she becomes covered by his health plan, lives close to him, and he can monitor her. Then he moves to Korea. And guess what happens? She ends up with a lot of guys, which is a really sad story because it happens all the time. You learn that she met 60 different men while he was away. It's absurd. I'm doing this for you guys because there are so many stories about young men marrying serious girlfriends and thinking it's a good idea. If you're a young man in the military or considering joining the military and have a serious girlfriend, you should think twice before doing that. I'm doing this so you guys can really learn from these bad experiences and not have to go through the same pain, shame, and agony as this guy and others out there. It's a shame, but it happens. In the beginning, it states, a soldier took to Reddit to share his story of taking vengeance on his wife, whom he claimed to have been unfaithful. Once he took her to court, something amazing happened. By taking her to court, he started his story by saying that he married his wife quickly because she had a lot of health issues and his command wouldn't let them stay off post without marrying. He is quoted as saying, "We got a wedding in a courtroom 2 weeks later. In addition, my TRICARE would fully cover her medical costs so I could stay with her. I was happy. She was happy. Oh, how nice is that?" As I mentioned earlier in the introduction, she suffers from health issues. As a result, this good-hearted but regrettably naive man rushes to marry her. He doesn't know her well enough, but they are now married. She can live in his house, drive his car, and take advantage of his health insurance and paycheck. I arrived on orders to PCs only to Korea just as I began to become suspicious, putting the investigation on hold until I could continue. After packing, I said my goodbyes to my wife, and I let the army send me where they wanted. Korea was my home for a year, and followed orders to visit Texas. I visited there. Thanks to her mother, brother, aunt, and uncle, I found out exactly what was going on there. So this girl he married and rushed to help was so bad that her family, including her mother, brother, and uncle, were supporting him in everything she was doing. That says a great deal. It turned out that his wife had been having affairs with 60 men, most of whom were soldiers. She probably told her family that her husband, who was gay and didn't want to come out, was okay with her unfaithfulness to him. He essentially wrote that this woman is using me as a meal ticket and paycheck. The fact that she calls me 2 weeks after I hear the good news and admits to once being unfaithful to me is the cherry on top. The sole reason she admitted to being pregnant. Given that I was in a different state at a different time, and that the father was African American, there was no way I could be the father. He is saying that so that the baby won't look like him and people won't be able to say, "Wait a minute, that's not your son." He added that events occurred. To prevent her from selling the house I had purchased, I returned home without her knowledge and removed my belongings there. When she started the divorce process, once she realized what I was about to do, he gets into how he gets even with her at this point. The first act of vengeance is this. I saw her boyfriend driving my car, not the baby's father. To get my car back, I therefore requested the assistance of her aunt and uncle. I approached from the opposite side of the parking lot when they pulled up behind him in the parking lot, got out, and spoke to him normally. After receiving the keys, her uncle asked to see them, began driving the vehicle, removed the keys ring from the key. I came up, introduced myself as Frizz Master, gave him the car key, and then looked him in the eye. This is my vehicle, and he is not stating his real name here. Now I'm taking it. After waiting for him to move over to the sidewalk, I got in my car, removed everything from the car that did not bear my name, left the items with him, and left the car there. The entire procedure of getting the man's aunt and uncle to follow him, capture him, and remove the items from him. I find this sound a little suspicious. It's his story, but it doesn't seem quite right. Later that day, I found out that he had packed everything up and left her. It appeared that he had been living in my home, consuming my meals, sleeping in my bed, and dressing in my clothes. Additionally, she was using the monthly funds I sent her to pay for his court costs and child support. This soldier took his wife to court, where he was finally able to exact his retribution on the woman who had been abusing him for so long. Reddit has a real article about the soldier's story. Additionally, it alternates between the author of this article and the person who is telling the story. According to the man's quote, "There is only one decision I can come to after reviewing the evidence and testimonies presented. Master Frizz, Mr. Your requests for the exclusive use of the vehicle and property have my approval." The judge told him in court that there was undeniable evidence of adultery. The judge continued, "Mrs. Frizz, Master, the only one of your motions I'm granting today is your request for a no-contact order, and that is more for Mr. Frizz Master's benefits than your own." The judge continued, "Your repeated attempts to overtalk me while I was reviewing the paperwork did not speak well of you. You appear to be very combative and willing to cause him legal damage that he was not entitled to. Always treat the judge with respect. Go to court if you ever get guys. Always treat the judge with respect." People end up freaking out in court and being rude to the judge, according to many lawyers I know. The worst thing you could ever do is that, if you have to appear in court or are in trouble for any reason. Nitpick there. You will not contact Mr. Frizzmaster unless we need him to clarify which items do not belong to you. The soldier's wife also pleaded with the judge to be more lenient because she would otherwise be without a place to live. You no longer have a claim to either the vehicle or the property. The verdict was sealed with the judge's final response. "Mrs. Frizzmaster, you have 30 days to figure that out, or you will be held in contempt of court and forbidden from returning to that property." He stated it. That tale is fairly brief, but it gets right to the point. The lesson is that, once more, there are so many unfaithful women in this world, particularly about the soldier. I'm not sure how frequently this happens to officers. It would be greatly appreciated if someone could correct me on that. Please let me know in the comment section. The bottom line, then, is that, first and foremost, you are aware of my general feelings regarding marriage. The marriage is over. Additionally, because it is a recipe for disaster, people in the West and other parts of the world do not even bother with the method. You are only inviting misery. I have completed the statistics. It is beyond belief. Okay. It's best to remain single and have occasional relationships. It's fine if you want to start a relationship with someone, but you don't move in with them and keep an open mind. But when it comes to marriage, guys, if you're in the military, don't get married. If you're going to do it, choose marriage when you return. Additionally, the wives begin meeting with neighbors and other soldiers. Anything bad is terrible. In the meantime, the guy lives in the house he pays for, where he gets his allowance, car, food, and money. She gets to meet all of these guys and live his life while he's gone. Does that imply that everyone does that? No. But it occurs so frequently that you hear so many stories about it that it is not absurd. Therefore, young men, just keep this in mind. You are not affected by it.